Not all men. You might have heard this statement from countless men every time we come across news that involves gruesome cases of domestic violence, sexual abuse, or rapes. I think the statement lacks a very important line. It should be not all men, but always a man. Now, before we begin with this video, I have a sincere request for you. If you are a man, please watch this video till the end. Whether or not you agree with me, I can promise you that you would develop more empathy for the women around you. And for the women watching this video, firstly, I would like to apologize because I would never understand what it is to be a woman. As a man, I was born with certain privileges that would never let me fully understand everything that a woman goes through. Every time my auto driver takes a wrong turn, I believe that he's just trying to charge me more money. But another woman might believe that her life is in danger. And that is the reason I might be incorrect in some of the things that I say during this video. If that is the case, then please, number one, forgive me, and number two, correct me in the comments below. In R.G. Kar Medical College in Kolkata, this year on the 8th of August, a 31-year-old female doctor was brutally raped and murdered. After working a shift of 36 hours in a country which has one of the worst patient-to-doctor ratios, this is how she was repaid. So why exactly do men rape? Let's understand. In India, you would observe that many rapists don't believe that they've actually committed a crime. They just believe that they forced a woman to do something and she was entirely in the wrong for this act. For example, this is what one of the convicted criminals in the Nirbhaya gang rape case said. He said that you cannot clap with one hand. If ever there is an incident like this, the woman is just as much to be blamed as the man. The rape is also the woman's fault. Why? Because she asked for it. She was wearing short clothes. She was roaming around late at night, completely neglecting the fact that rape is purely a function of individual desire. In this case, the man couldn't control his desires and he did what he did. Now, desires need not necessarily be sexual, which is what you see in these cases. Multiple pieces of research say that rapes are primarily driven by urges like the need to control, the need to exert dominance, the need to show that you are the more powerful individual. In many instances, the rapists are young and they often succumb to peer pressure. For example, in the 2012 Nirbhaya case, one of the individuals was a juvenile. This is not exclusive to India. In fact, there is peer pressure on young men to prove their worth as men and turn from boys to men by indulging in a sexual act. Now, low levels of education, deep-rooted misogyny, a lack of exposure lead to these kinds of events. If from a very young age, a man believes that he is inherently superior to a woman, then nothing stops him from going out and taking what he wants by force. He sees the woman as someone in the wrong for not giving him what he wants. Secondly, improper education. In our schools, we are absolutely not taught these ideals that men and women can be equal. Yes, they might be taught in the books, but in spite of going to co-ed schools, many of us have very weird interactions with women when it comes to our schooling days. For example, every time we would go on a school picnic or a trip, boys and girls would be seated on a separate bus. After 8th grade, boys and girls weren't allowed to sit together on the same bench. If a boy and a girl interacted with each other, both of them would be shamed and scolded. They would be reprimanded and told that this is completely wrong. So when from a very young age, men and women don't interact with each other, they start perceiving the other as different and maybe not equal. Due to this lack of exposure to the opposite sex, many men are simply not even themselves when it comes to being around women. Now, I went to a co-ed school and I was at a pub with some of my school friends. This is when one of my friends actually ended up liking a girl. He was with us, she was with her friends. They both made eye contact, they smiled, and it was an extremely innocent interaction. We encouraged him to go talk to her, make conversation, get to know her, and he straight up refused. He said that she's a girl, I don't know what to say. The problem is that due to this lack of interaction since our early days, many men don't believe that men and women are the exact same species. They are the same individuals. Women too, like you, have perfectly normal lives that if you go out and talk to them, it would be the same as talking to any other person. Now, while my friend is one of the nicest and most respectful individuals that you would come across, not every person is like that. This lack of interaction and belief that men and women aren't equal, they aren't the same, actually manifests into feelings of anger and a need to control. Many times it breeds a feeling of superiority and men think that I need to get what I want from this woman. If it is by force, so be it. And one of the biggest factors that exacerbate this problem is films. Regardless of the language, stalking, catcalling, stalking, harassing, rapes are glorified in Indian cinema. Now you might argue that these are just jokes. This is just a movie. How does it matter? It does not have any consequences on society. But that is absolutely incorrect. These jokes are what normalize instances like rape. If there are 10 men that laugh at rape jokes and there is one of those men that is very likely to commit such a crime, then the probability of that crime being committed is even more, because that one man sees the other men laugh at such jokes. He believes that this is natural. This is the usual order of things. Stalking, harassing or forcing someone are not okay. Imagine, what if you were forced to do a job? You wouldn't like it, right? It is the exact same thing. In fact, men need to understand what exactly constitutes consent. Let me break it down for you. If you're about to get intimate with another person and that person says yes, you have consent. On the other hand, if that person says maybe and you convince them, you do not have consent. If that person says yes and then changes their mind last moment, you do not have consent. If they're under the influence of alcohol, a substance, or maybe even sleeping, you do not have consent. Anything that is not a clear yes is actually a no. And now comes the most important part of this video, is what do actually women want you to know as a man. I spoke to several women that I personally know for a long time. I solicited responses from women that are part of my audience across platforms. And everything I'm about to say are the most common things that each of them pointed out. Once again, if you're a woman watching this video, feel free to add anything that you like in the comments below. The number one thing that each woman said is that men need to empathize with women's issues. Let me first clarify what the word empathy means. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to understand where they are coming from. Now, let me tell you something, this is true for each woman that I have spoken to. There was a survey conducted in the national capital of India, in Delhi, where 88% of all women surveyed reported that they have been sexually harassed at least once. Do this exercise. Go out and ask any woman that you know if she's ever been sexually harassed. It could be your partner, your best friend, your mother, any woman that you are personally aware of. Ask her, and I can guarantee it that out of 10, 9 of them would say yes. You need to understand that on public transport, things like groping, harassing, touching, catcalling are very, very common in India. This type of an environment makes women extremely stressed and anxious every single day when it comes to anything that they do, whether getting out of their house, going out to buy milk, going to work, taking the train, anything. Any everyday process that involves men being around them makes them naturally very stressed and anxious, irrespective of the character of the men around them. A woman might be in a room of extremely respectful and kind men, but she might still feel unsafe because of her experiences. As men, we completely tend to discount this. If we are walking on a street at night and we see a woman clutch her bag or increase her pace, we get offended. It goes like,
"Excuse me, I am a nice person. Why do you think I would harm you?"
It is not your individual character that elicits this form of a response, but it is their experiences. A woman might wear the most covered clothes. She might take all safety precautions, and in spite of that, she might get groped on the metro. She might be catcalled while on a street. Being violated, irrespective of your individual demeanor, is a constant threat. The second most common thing that women wanted us to know is that please do not take rape jokes lightly. Do not use words like slut and whore very commonly. It is exactly these words that make men believe that it is okay to be disrespectful. If you see your friends make such jokes or use these terms, call them out, correct them, improve their behavior. Completely honest confession, me and my friends use these terms very commonly back when we were young, and it was one of our male friends that called us out and corrected us. Transformative change occurs when we correct our peers, when we improve them. Go on to teach your peers about equality and their ideals. Teach your kids that men aren't superior to women and that you are equal. Teach your younger brother that all the female classmates that he has are regular people and it's perfectly fine to interact with them, play with them and talk to them. As I said, when society makes rape jokes sound very normal, out of 10, maybe 9 men aren't likely to commit such a crime. But the one man that is, he takes that as a positive signal. He views it as something that is perfectly normal. It reinforces that deep-rooted belief that he might have that one woman is inferior to him. Asking women to take safety precautions, carry pepper spray, carry self-defense weapons, dress better are only short-term solutions. The actual and only long-term solution comes from transformative change. So apart from educating the men around us, another critical part for transformational change in India needs to be with respect to convictions. You would be shocked to know that the Indian government released this data that 97% of all rapes are committed by an individual known to the female, which very likely means a co-worker, a superior, a family member at times. And that is exactly the reason the conviction rate for rapes in India is just at 27%, meaning out of all 100 accused rapists, only 27 face any consequences. And now I'm sure many of you might be thinking, we need the death penalty for rapists. We need to lynch them publicly. You need to understand that enacting laws like these will only bring that conviction rate even lower. Because if 97% of all the perpetrators are known to the victim, then oftentimes this crime goes unreported due to societal pressure. Oftentimes women are convinced to not report this crime, citing that your life might be destroyed or this person might get killed for that. You remember that study I just mentioned where 88% of all women in Delhi reported that they were sexually harassed at least once? In that same study, they even mentioned what percentage of women actually reported these crimes. You would be shocked to know that it was just 1%. In Saudi Arabia, rapes have a death penalty, but that is only if rapes get reported. The rape rate in Saudi Arabia is just 2 for every 1 million people. It is so low, not because the country doesn't have any instances of rape, but because the country does not report them. The laws in Saudi Arabia are so oppressive towards women that in case a rape happens, then the woman needs 2 male eyewitnesses to prove this rape or a confession from the rapist. Otherwise, there is no conviction. So the problem is not a death penalty or a severe punishment, but it is increasing the conviction rate. In the case of our country, transformative change only has 2 pillars. The first one is education and the second one is increasing the rate of convictions. But what about so many fake rape cases that occur in our country? You haven't mentioned those at all. I'm sure there would be a bunch of people that think about this. And of course, a fake rape case is definitely in the wrong. But we need to realize that fake rape cases shouldn't just be discussed every time there is a real rape case and protests around them. The issues around false allegations and accusations shouldn't just be a response to actual issues that women face. Every time something wrong happens to a woman in our country, there is a group of people that start talking about the false accusations and false allegations that men have to face. Talking about these issues is absolutely necessary for our justice system, but talking about them only when we discuss women's issues is not. When we bring up these debates as a response to women's issues, somewhere we are simply invalidating everything that women go through. I hope you learned something new today. If you did, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.